What's up, headbangers? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metal 101 Reviews. And today we are going to do another movie review. This time the movie is called Lords of Chaos. So if you are new here, please like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Share the channel with your buddies and check out some of our older episodes. We got a lot of great content. So another movie review, Lords of Chaos, came out in 2018. It's currently available on Hulu for streaming. And this movie is about the pioneering Norwegian black metal band Mayhem. So crazy, sort of a crazy story. So I guess I'll let you dive in and whatever direction you want to go, and we'll just bullshit it.
All right. So since you suggested watching this movie, I've been trying to figure out how I would talk about this movie because it deals with black metal. So you have to be very, very careful because the gatekeepers are just waiting. They're waiting for you to say something wrong and they're going to let you know. But it's a movie I've seen probably a handful of times. Personally, I appreciate it. I think you just have to kind of take into account that there's probably just as much fiction as there is fact in that movie. I want to say it was based off of the book Lords of Chaos, which I read parts of probably 15, 20 years ago. It was okay. But apparently it's not the most historically accurate book. But overall, I mean, I thought it was interesting to see Rory Culkin in there. Not saying he did a bad job. It was kind of it was just odd to see him in that role. I think he did it well. And that's I think it'd be hard for somebody like that to play somebody like Euronymous, because he's an outsider. I think I kind of look at him that way. So, I mean, he had the balls to do it. So, props to him.
Yeah, I think that is, there's a lot of beef about this movie among metalheads and especially among black metal fans. I know one thing is like it's inauthentic. None of the actors speak with a Norwegian accent or anything like that. But yeah, as you said, it's Rory Culkin. So Macaulay Culkin's little brother, he plays Euronymous, the main character or the protagonist. And we have Emery Cohen plays Varg, aka Christian, aka the Count. Jack Kilmer plays Dead, not the original lead singer of the band, but the first lead singer that we see in the movie. And then Sky Ferreira plays Euronymous' fictional girlfriend. I don't believe she was a real person.
No, I don't think so. It seems to me I read that before.
Right. And I think there is, like you said, there's about as much fiction as there is fact in this movie. I read a lot about it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I even watched some documentaries. From what I gather, the most fictional portrayal of all is of Euronymous. I think he was a lot, I would say, less likable person in real life than he was on the movie. Not to say that he was super likable on the movie, but it's a Hollywood movie. They had to have a protagonist, and none of these people, for the majority of the people that are in the movie that existed in real life, they're I guess unsavory characters. They're not very good people. So yeah, so I guess other complaints about the movie is that it's not at all about the music. There's very little of Mayhem's music in the actual film. And I think that was sort of a complaint that a lot of people had. But like you said, I don't know, it's a good movie. It was entertaining. It was well made, and production was good. The acting, besides the fact that they didn't have Norwegian accents, it was good. And I don't know, it was overall, it's a good movie if you just take it for what it's worth, and as a Hollywood uh, loosely based on a true story type of film.
Yeah, you have to really look at it for what it is. If if you don't look at it for what it is, you're just gonna hate it. But no, I've always enjoyed it every time I watched it. It was, like you said, entertaining. I didn't really understand why they picked the guy they did to play Varg Vikernes. Guy doesn't look anything like him. Vikernes was like really skinny, and this dude was kind of pudgy. So I don't know why they went with this kid, but it is, and here we are.
I think to just piss Varg off, a chubby Jewish kid playing this skinny Nazi guy. It's kind of interesting. It's such an interesting story. The whole history of the band is just really crazy. You got Dead's the lead singer that they portray. They had multiple lead singers, but he was extremely depressed, suicidal. He would do things like cut himself on stage and spray the blood on the crowd, sniff dead animals before going on for the show, bury his clothes so they would decompose. And that part of it, all from what I've read and heard, was very true. He did all that stuff. He actually sent them a crucified rat with his demo tape, or with his demo tape that he sent them. So just crazy stuff. And from what I've heard, the different from real life to what happened in the movie, Euronymous really encouraged him to take his life. There was one scene in the movie where he's like, gonna give him the shotgun. He's just like, go ahead and just end it all right now. But from what I heard, it was even more than that. He was very mean to him, and I think he felt like if the lead singer killed himself, that would add more notoriety to the band.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I've looked at that and tried to figure out what his angle was. I mean, I suppose it could have been for notoriety, but at the same time, when you have a face of the band like somebody like Dead that's up there that willing to cut his wrists and freaking bleed all over the crowd, that's a valuable commodity.
Right.
Why you would the death of the singer, that's kind of like a flash in the pan notoriety that I would see is, kind of dying off. But if you have somebody out there that's enduring and doing this stuff time and time again, that's a long lasting notoriety. I just think he was ignorant and careless. Didn't think he would actually do it, but was just trying to kind of play Billy Badass and kind of stoke the flames a bit. And just maybe manipulating him to a degree. I think Euronymous was very narcissistic. And I wouldn't put that past him. I don't know. Maybe it was just for the notoriety, but if it was really fucking stupid.
Right. Well, they did a lot of stupid things in the movie. I felt like the character Varg, and not to say that this is completely speaking of him in the movie, not in real life, he did a lot of dumb things. And he was portrayed to be, kind of this ditzy guy. Like when he has this interview with the media and he's, trying to say, people in the circle are involved in in all these church burnings and stuff. I guess that's one thing we didn't talk about. So they burnt several churches down in Norway, and God, I kept thinking to myself, like, what the hell's wrong with the Norwegian authorities? Like, why aren't they, guarding any of these churches after 2 or 3 of them are burnt down? You'd think that they'd start patrolling the areas, but
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
it's pretty easy to peg too, because they were picking all the old ones.
Right.
Like, all right, it kind of narrows down the targets. Let's just find the old ones and maybe set up some security.
Yeah, exactly. But, I guess when I'm thinking about this movie and I'm thinking about heavy metal in general, all subgenres, I think one legitimate criticism that people could make about heavy metal is that it can be very gimmicky. And by that I mean a lot of different things. You think about like the shock rocker guys, and you think about bands like Venom and that kind of started black metal in a way. They sound a lot different, but there were an originator of black metal, and their shtick was the whole worshiping Satan stuff. They didn't really worship Satan, but they had to keep up this, I guess it's a facade in a way, or like I said, it's a gimmick, it's a shtick. It's like with Cannibal Corpse and all their lyrics about murdering and mutilating and raping and stuff. But with this band, it wasn't as much a shtick. It wasn't really a gimmick. It was like they really went out and did this stuff, and they really believed, at least some of them did, believed in the things that they were doing, and that made it all the more interesting.
Yeah, they really subscribe to all that stuff.
Right.
That's rare. Usually, like you said, it's a gimmick, at least to
Mhm.
some degree, for attention.
Right. But yeah, overall, I give it probably a 8 out of 10. I thought it was just a solid movie, entertaining. A lot of fucked up shit happening. I love it when fucked up shit happens in a movie. So that, there's plenty of blood and violence and, horrendous acts and stuff. So entertaining. Overall, to me, it was a good movie, even if it wasn't historically accurate.
Yeah, I'd say probably 7 or 8 as well. I think if it had been closer to truth, I could have ranked it a little higher even. I really liked how they took the old photos and like recreated them in the movie. I don't know if you picked up on that, but they would take real poses that they did and kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but they would have them do something and then show them the real picture of the actual people doing that thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, one other thing that we could maybe touch on is the sort of origin of Norwegian black metal, and did they create it, and why did they create it? I don't know enough about black metal to claim to be any sort of expert, but have read some things where people were fed up with how polished death metal was becoming, and how it was all about like who could play the best, who could play the fastest, and these guys were not, they were posers, they weren't real, they were normal guys in t-shirts and shorts, and these black metal guys, or people like Euronymous, they wanted to take it to the next level. They wanted to be genuine, and so they kind of started playing this unpolished music, low recording quality, lo-fi stuff, and putting the corpse paint on their face and all that stuff. And yeah, I think that's, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's one thing I read, that they wanted to were tired of the way heavy metal was going, and they wanted to go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, that's what I understand as well.
Yeah, as I thought, and I think bands like Venom were very influential to them, but there's a point where they're like, these guys are fake. This is a shtick to them. This is a gimmick, and yeah, we're legit. We're burning down churches and cutting ourselves on stage and all kinds of crazy shit like that. But it's
Yeah.
like they want to be so different. They don't want to be mainstream. They want a really small circle, but that sort of ends up conflicting when you want to also make money and sell records and you want people to hear your music. So that's why they start doing things like burning down churches. Well, they start burning down churches because they're fucking crazy. But I mean, in their crazy mind, this is going to get us to the next level. This is going to make us even more real. This is going to make more people want to hear our music, and whatever other motives that they had.
Yeah. I don't know if they were the ones that invented this genre. I'm pretty sure they are. Seems to me I was reading that they formed in like 87. And I can't recall anything earlier than that. And I understand kind of trying to go against the grain. I never cared for the poor recording quality. I don't know. That it's just not my thing.
Even comes down to like the album art. Death metal bands would have these very colorful, beautiful, professional paint, artists creating all these cover art, and they would have like a black and white photo that was like Xeroxed, and that was like their cover art.
Yeah. Very, very simple, very basic, but it was appealing too at the same time. It was like beauty and simplicity.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right too. I think they really did create it. They came out with like demos, and they didn't really have an album, I think, until early 90s. They played some live shows. I think that's a criticism against the actual band, is like it took them so long to record an album, and their shows that they played were very sporadic. They only played really small tours and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily all their fault. I think it was hard for them to get booked.
Yeah. I want to say their first album came out in 94, I think. And they started writing that with Dead in 87 or 88. And but the death of Dead, and then the murder of Euronymous, it kind of slowed things down a little bit. That happens.
Right. They didn't even release the album until Euronymous was already dead, and Varg was probably already in prison and whatever. I want to say I read that Euronymous' family had requested that Varg's parts be removed from the album, and then that never happened. So that's an interesting, and we'll get into that because we're going to actually listen to a song. They have an album where a murderer and his victim are playing side by side on that album. That's pretty unique.
That's a trip.
All right. Well, I hope you guys liked our conversation about this movie. Go check it out. You can watch it on Hulu. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, and all that stuff, and rock on.